Alaska is a non-contiguous U.S. state on the northwest extremity of North America. It is in the western United States region. The only other non-contiguous U.S. state is Hawaii. Alaska is also considered to be the northernmost, westernmost, and easternmost. The Aleutian Islands cross the 180th meridian into the Eastern Hemisphere state in the United States. It borders the Canadian territory of Yukon and the province of British Columbia to the east. It shares a western maritime border in the Bering Strait with Russia's Chukotka Autonomous Okrug. The Chukchi and Beaufort Seas of the Arctic Ocean lie to the north, and the Pacific Ocean lies to the south. Technically, it is a semi-exclave of the U.S. and is the largest exclave in the world. Alaska is the largest U.S. state by area, comprising more total area than the following three largest states of Texas, California, and Montana combined, and is the sixth largest subnational division in the world. It is the third least populous and most sparsely populated U.S. state, but is, with a population of 736,081, as of 2020, the continent's most populous territory located, mostly north of the 60th parallel, with more than quadruple the combined populations of northern Canada and Greenland. The state contains the four largest cities in the United States by area, including the state capital of Juneau. The state's most populous city is Anchorage, and approximately half of Alaska's residents live within its metropolitan area. Indigenous people have lived in Alaska for thousands of years, and it is widely believed that the region served as the entry point for the initial settlement of North America by way of the Bering Land Bridge. The Russian Empire was the first to actively colonize the area, beginning in the 18th century, eventually establishing Russian America, which spanned most of the current state, and promoted and maintained a native Alaskan Creole population. The expense and logistical difficulty of maintaining this distant possession prompted its sale to the U.S. in 1867 for $7.2 million United States dollars. The area went through several administrative changes before becoming organized as a territory. On May 11, 1912, it was admitted as the 49th state of the U.S. On January 3, 1959. Abundant natural resources have enabled Alaska, with one of the smallest state economies, to have one of the highest per capita incomes, with commercial fishing and the extraction of natural gas and oil dominating Alaska's economy. U.S. Armed Forces bases and tourism also contribute to the economy. More than half of the state is federally owned land containing national forests, national parks, and wildlife refuges. It is among the most irreligious states, one of the first to legalize recreational marijuana, and is known for its libertarian-leaning political culture, generally supporting the Republican Party in national elections. The indigenous population of Alaska is proportionally the second highest of any U.S. state, at over 15%, after only Hawaii. The willow ptarmigan, Lagopus lagopus, is a bird in the grouse subfamily Tetraonyinae of the pheasant family, Phasianidae. It is also known as the willow grouse. The red grouse of the British Isles was formerly considered to be a subspecies. Myosotis alpestris, or alpine forget-me-not, is a herbaceous perennial plant in the flowering plant family Boraginaceae. The alpine forget-me-not is the county flower of Westmoreland in the United Kingdom. Pisceus sitchensis, the Sitka spruce, is a large, coniferous, evergreen tree growing to just over 100 meters tall, with a trunk diameter at breast height that can exceed 5 meters. It is by far the largest species of spruce and the fifth largest conifer in the world, and the third tallest conifer species. The U.S. state of Alaska is divided into 19 organized boroughs and one unorganized borough. Alaska and the state of Louisiana are the only states that do not call their first-order administrative subdivisions counties. Louisiana uses parishes instead. Delegates to the Alaska Constitutional Convention wanted to avoid the traditional county system and adopted their own unique model with different classes of boroughs varying in powers and duties. Many of the most densely populated regions of the state are part of Alaska's boroughs, which functions similarly to counties in other states. There are 4 different classifications of organized boroughs: Unified Home Rule, or non-unified home rule, may exercise all legislative powers not prohibited by law or charter. First class may exercise any power not prohibited by law, on a non-area-wide basis by adopting ordinances, and second class must gain voter approval for authority to exercise many non-area-wide powers. However, unlike county equivalents in the other 49 states, the organized boroughs do not cover the entire land area of the state. The area not part of any organized borough is referred to as the inorganized borough. The U.S. Census Bureau, in cooperation with the state, divides the inorganized borough into 11 census areas, each roughly corresponding to an election district, thus totaling 30 county equivalents. However, these areas exist solely for the purposes of statistical analysis and presentation. They have no government of their own. Boroughs and census areas are both treated as county-level equivalents by the Census Bureau. Some areas in the inorganized borough receive limited public services directly from the Alaska state government, usually law enforcement from the Alaska State Troopers and educational funding. 7 consolidated city-borough governments exist: Juneau City and Borough, Skagway Municipality, Sitka City and Borough, Yakutat City and Borough, Wrangell City and Borough, as well as the state's largest city, Anchorage. Though its legal name is the Municipality of Anchorage, it is considered a consolidated city-borough under state law. The Federal Information Processing Standard FIPS 55 to 230 for codes, which are used by the United States Census Bureau to uniquely identify states and counties, is provided with each entry. Alaska's code is O2, so each code is of the format O2XXX. The FIPS code for each county equivalent links to census data for that county equivalent. There are 30 divisions in Alaska. Top 10 largest cities in Alaska. Number 10, Meadow Lakes, Alaska. Meadow Lakes is a census-designated place CDP in Matanuska-Susitna Borough, Alaska, United States. Located west of Wasilla, it is part of the Anchorage, Alaska Metropolitan Statistical Area. As of the 2020 census, the population was 9,197, up from 7,570 in 2010. It is the 5th most populated CDP in Alaska and the 3rd largest community in the borough. Number 9, Tanana, Alaska. Tanana is a census-designated place CDP in the Matanuska-Susitna Borough in the U.S. state of Alaska. Located 4 miles north from Wasilla, it is part of the Anchorage, Alaska Metropolitan Statistical Area. At the 2020 census, the population was 8,817, up from 8,197. In 2010, Tanana is the 6th most populated CDP in Alaska. Number 8, Wasilla, Alaska. Wasilla is a city in Matanuska-Susitna Borough, Alaska, United States, and the 4th largest city in Alaska. It is located on the northern point of Cook Inlet in the Matanuska-Susitna Valley of the south-central part of the state. The city's population was 9,054 at the 2020 census, up from 7,831 in 2010. Wasilla is the largest city in the borough and a part of the Anchorage metropolitan area, which had an estimated population of 398,328 in 2020. Established at the intersection of the Alaska Railroad and Old Carl Wagon Road, the city prospered at the expense of the nearby mining town of Nick. Historically entrepreneurial, the economic base shifted in the 1970s from small-scale agriculture and recreation to support for workers employed in Anchorage or on Alaska's North Slope, oil fields, and related infrastructure. The George Parks Highway turned the town into a commuter suburb of Anchorage. The headquarters of the Iditarod Trail Sled Dog Race, a popular and significant sporting event in Alaska, is located in Wasilla. Wasilla gained international attention when Sarah Palin, who served as mayor of Wasilla before her election as governor of Alaska, was chosen by John McCain as his running mate for vice president of the United States in the 2008 United States presidential election. Wasilla is named after Chief Wasilla, a local Dena'ina chief. Wasilla is the anglicized spelling of the chief's Russian given name, Vasilij, which corresponds to the English name Basil. Number 7, North Lakes, Alaska. North Lakes is a census-designated place CDP in Matanuska-Susitna Borough, Alaska, United States. It was first listed as a CDP prior to the 2020 census. After the split of the former CDP of Lakes, it is part of the Anchorage, Alaska Metropolitan Statistical Area. Number 6. College, Alaska. College is a census-designated place CDP in Fairbanks North Star Borough, Alaska, United States. It is part of the Fairbanks, Alaska Metropolitan Statistical Area. As of the 2020 census, the population was 11,332, down from 12,964 in 2010. College is the third most populated CDP in Alaska. College is adjacent to the city of Fairbanks. The University of Alaska Fairbanks lies within its boundaries and serves as its core. The area is often referred to as part of Fairbanks and not as a separate entity. The area is served by the University of Alaska Fairbanks for fire protection and ambulance service, and jointly by the University of Alaska, Fairbanks Police Department and Alaska State Troopers for Police Protection. Number 5. Badger, Alaska. Badger is a census-designated place CDP in the Fairbanks North Star Borough of Alaska. It was one of the CDPs created in 2010, out of small suburbs and outskirts of Fairbanks. It has an area of 66.71 square, 65.63 of land and 1.08 of water. The population of the CDP was 19,031 as of the 2020 census, down from 19,482 in 2010. Badger's designation as a place made it number 5 by population, behind Anchorage, Fairbanks, Juneau, and Nick Fairview, in a list of Alaska cities and census-designated places by population. Badger is a major community of the Fairbanks, AK Metropolitan Statistical Area. Number 4. Nick Fairview, Alaska. Nick Fairview is a census-designated place CDP in Matanuska-Susitna Borough, Alaska, United States. It is part of the Anchorage, Alaska Metropolitan Statistical Area. At the 2020 census, the population was 19,297, up from 14,923. In 2010, it is the most populated CDP in Alaska. Number 3. Juneau, Alaska. Juneau, officially the city and borough of Juneau, is the capital of the U.S. state of Alaska. Located in the Gastineau Channel and the Alaskan Panhandle, Juneau was named the capital of Alaska in 1906, when the government of what was then the District of Alaska was moved from Sitka, as dictated by the U.S. Congress. In 1900, on July 1, 1970, the city of Juneau merged with the city of Douglas and the surrounding Greater Juneau Borough to form the current Consolidated City Borough, which ranks as the second largest municipality in the United States by area, and is larger than either Rhode Island or Delaware. Downtown Juneau is nestled at the base of Mount Juneau, and it is across the channel from Douglas Island. As of the 2020 census, the city and borough had a population of 32,255, making it the third most populous city in Alaska after Anchorage and Fairbanks. Juneau experiences a daily influx of 21,000 people or more from visiting cruise ships between the months of May and September. The city is named after a gold prospector from Quebec, Joe Juneau, although it was once called Rockwell and then Harrisburg, after Juneau's co-prospector, Richard Harris. The Taku River, just south of Juneau, was named after the cold Tauk wind, which occasionally blows down from the mountains. Juneau is unique among U.S. state capitals in that there are no roads connecting the city to the rest of the state or to the contiguous United States. Honolulu, Hawaii, is the only other state capital which is not connected by road to the contiguous United States. The absence of a road network is due to the extremely rugged terrain surrounding the city. In turn, Juneau is a de facto island city in terms of transportation. All goods coming in and out must be transported by plane or boat. In spite of the city's location on the Alaskan mainland, downtown Juneau sits at sea level with tides averaging 16 feet 5 meters, below steep mountains about 3,500 to 4,000 feet, 1,100 to 1,200 meters high. Atop the mountains is the Juneau Icefield, a large ice mass from which about 30 glaciers flow. Two of them, the Mendenhall Glacier and the Lemon Creek Glacier, are visible from the local road system. The Mendenhall Glacier has been gradually retreating. Its front face is declining in width and height. The Alaska State Capitol in downtown Juneau was built as the federal and territorial building. In 1931, prior to statehood, it housed federal government offices, the federal courthouse, and a post office. It also housed the territorial legislature and other territorial offices, including that of the governor. Today, Juneau is the home of the state legislature and the offices of the governor and lieutenant governor. Some executive branch offices have moved certain functions to Anchorage and elsewhere in the state. Number to Fairbanks, Alaska. Fairbanks is a home rule city and the borough seat of the Fairbanks, North Star Borough, Alaska, United States. Fairbanks is the largest city in the interior region of Alaska and the second largest in the state. The 2020 census put the population of the city proper at 32,515 and the population of the Fairbanks, North Star Borough at 95,655, making it the second most populous metropolitan area in Alaska after Anchorage. The metropolitan statistical area encompasses all of the Fairbanks North Star Borough and is the northernmost metropolitan statistical area in the United States. Located 196 miles, 315 kilometers by road, 140 miles or 230 kilometers by air south of the Arctic Circle. In August 1901, E.T. Bonnet founded a trading post on the south bank of the Chena River. A gold discovery near the trading post sparked the Fairbanks Gold Rush, and many miners moved to the area. There was a boom in construction, and in November 1903, the area's residents voted to incorporate Fairbanks as a city. Bonnet became the first mayor, and the city flourished during the gold rush. By World War I, the population had plunged, but rose again during the Great Depression as the price of gold increased. During the 1940s and 1950s, the city became a staging area for the construction of military depots. During World War II and the Cold War, Fort Wainwright, previously named Ladd Field, was built east of the city beginning in 1938 and is operated by the U.S. Army. After the discovery of the Prudhoe Bay oil field in 1968, the city became a supply point for the oil field, as well as for the Trans-Alaska Pipeline System. With the establishment of the Fairbanks North Star Borough in 1964, the city became borough seat. Tourism is also a factor in Fairbanks' economy. Fairbanks is in the Tanana Valley, straddling the Chena River near its confluence with the Tanana River. The Tanana River marks the city's southern border, and the Tanana Flats, a large area of marsh and bog, is south of the river. Fairbanks is the coldest city in the United States with a population of at least 10,000 people. Monthly mean temperatures range from 8.3 degrees Fahrenheit, 20 to 0.4 degrees Celsius in January, to 60 to 0.9 degrees Fahrenheit, 17.2 degrees Celsius in July. In winter, Fairbanks' location in the Tanana Valley causes cold air to accumulate in the city and warm air to rise up the hills to the north, and the city experiences one of the biggest temperature inversions on Earth. Fairbanks is home to the University of Alaska Fairbanks, the founding campus of the University of Alaska System. Established in 1917, Fairbanks International Airport is located 3 miles (4.8 kilometers) southwest of the central business district of the city. Fairbanks is the smallest city in the United States with regularly scheduled, non-stop international flights. Number 1. Anchorage, Alaska. Anchorage, officially the municipality of Anchorage, is the most populous city in the U.S. state of Alaska, with a population of 291,247. At the 2020 census, it contains nearly 40% of the state's population. The Anchorage metropolitan area, which includes Anchorage and the neighboring Matanuska-Susitna Borough, had a population of 398,328 in 2020, accounting for more than half the state's population. At 1,706 square mi, 4,420 square kilometers of land area, the city is the 4th largest by area in the U.S. Anchorage is in south-central Alaska, at the terminus of the Cook Inlet, on a peninsula formed by the Knik Arm to the north and the Turnagain Arm to the south. First settled as a tent city near the mouth of Ship Creek in 1915 when construction on the Alaska Railroad began. Anchorage was incorporated as a city in November 1920. In September 1975, the city of Anchorage merged with the Greater Anchorage Area Borough, creating the municipality of Anchorage. The municipal city limits span 1,961.1 square mi, 5,079.2 square kilometers, encompassing the urban core, a joint military base, several outlying communities, and almost all of Chugach State Park. Because of this, less than 10% of the municipality or muni is populated, with the highest concentration of people in the 100 square mile area that makes up the city proper. On a promontory at the headwaters of the inlet, commonly called Anchorage, the city of Anchorage, or the Anchorage Bowl, due to its location, almost equidistant from New York City, Tokyo, and Murmansk, Russia straight over the North Pole. Anchorage lies within 10 hours by air of nearly 90% of the global north. For this reason, Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport is a common refueling stop for international cargo flights and home to a major FedEx hub, which the company calls a critical part of its global network of services. Anchorage has won the All-America City Award 4 times, in 1956, 1965, 1980 for 285, and 2002, from the National Civic League. Kiplinger has named it the United States' most tax-friendly city.